Folks, gosh, that one little hair, always with that one little wisp. I'm growing my hair out, and it's in the ugly duckling stage right now. At any rate, Francis Vapes here. Today, I have the promised update on the titanium wire. I know that lots of guys out there have messed with titanium wire, but you know, I really tried to master nickel building before I got into this. And now I wish I would have done it earlier. No, it's okay. So anyways, so this is a 60 watt temp control device called the Kupor Mini. I'm going to do a review on this one coming up soon. But I have a titanium build inside this huge Zephyrus, my favorite tank. And it's coming in at 0.36. Oh, it's backwards. You can't see it, but you can imagine. Just watch this video in a mirror and then you'll know. I got it maxed out, man, 600 degrees. There's no wattage adjustment on this. It just gives you the wattage it needs to reach the temperature. I'm fine with that. So anyways, I've got it set to hard. It was just like the SX Mini. It has a soft, medium, hard setting. I think that's ramp up time. It has a coefficient setting as well for nickel. And I believe that's only for nickel. I have not changed it while I was vaping on titanium, but I'm about to try it in this video. So much easier to build, people. Oh my god, okay? No connection issues so far. It's a little springy, it's a little weird, which this is it right here. This is grade 1 titanium 30 gauge. So I think it was 7 or 8 wraps of titanium, and it's 30 gauge, so it's a little finicky, but not nearly as soft and weird as nickel, and it was much easier to install coils in here. And because I only had to put 7 wraps, I was easily able to install a dual coil, like going back to the days when I first started dripping and I was doing dual 28 gauge coils. So anyways, here we go. Pretty pleasant. It's not as hot as nickel, so I'm still trying to work that out. Nice vapor production, though. The flavor is good. Not sure about battery life yet. I've only been using it for a few hours, although I'm like 2/3 of the way on my battery after a few hours. It's not too bad. I don't know, you know, sometimes it just starts to drop off rapidly. Here's a dripper that I have the same build in. And I'll put this on here real quick and we'll see. Will it ask me? New coil, up, same, down. New coil, up. 0.33 this one. Okay, similar build. I think it's maybe 6 wraps instead of 8 or something like that. Same settings. Seems to be kind of burning a little bit. I'm not really sure why that is. See my hot spotting anywhere? Doesn't look like I'm hot spotting, but it's just not. No, you know what? Maybe just a second there, it was acting kind of funny, but it seems to be fine now. Seems to be good. Now I'm going to try and adjust the coefficient. So I'm going to go into the menu, and there's a little setting in here where I can, whoops, where it'll let me adjust the temperature coefficient. Oh shit. I'm not going to be able to show you. It's too fast. This is made by Smoke, and the way their menu system is, it's always like crazy. I don't know. I was told, or I read, that the nickel coefficient should be set to 70, but that's the only coefficient that it has is nickel. It says nickel TCR, temperature control resist, or temperature coefficient of resistance, I think is what it stands for. Not a scientist. Not really sure. But anyways, let's see if it changes anything. Not really. Let's put it. I had an Amigo tank, or a Triton tank with an Amigo coil in it earlier, and I burnt the hell out of it first hit out because it just wasn't setting the resistance properly. So let's try that again. Let's go. Let's see, because I had set the coefficient differently. So let's see if that new coil up. It's reading 0.23. I know that's not right. So there is actually a setting in here where I can change the resistance, which is kind of cool. Initial ohm. So I can set the baseline myself if I want. So I'm going to scroll down to 0.18 is what it's allowing me to do. Because I have to switch this back into nickel mode because it's on titanium. Oops. Smoke. It's weird, their menu system. Once you get used to it, you understand it, but it's a little weird when you're going from some other mod. So let me go ahead and go back in here and see if it'll let me change that now and go down further. Yeah, it will. Okay. Supposed to be a 0.15. Initial ohm. Adjust initial ohm. So now it's set to 0.15. I'm going to turn the temperature down so I don't smoke this thing. Ruin it. Let's try 450. Set to hard. 450 degrees. I set the resistance manually to 0.15 here. Oh, it's not set to vape. That's one thing. There's no juice in there. Oh, see, it tastes awful. Covering up the airflow, shutting down the airflow, pulling some juice in there. Pardon me. I'm back. It's taking a long time to get up the temperature. There, by the end of the hit, it got up to temperature. I'm going to change the coefficient. I'm going to change it back to where it came stock. I think I saw on a video of Mike Vapes that he had it set to 4.2. There's 3 zeros, and then there's a... Let's put it to 50. That's how it came. Let's try that. Was definitely hitting better where I had it set, which was 70. Let's try 75. Yeah, so I'm getting a faster ramp up. Still not, you know, let's try, let's go up to 80, see what happens. It's still taking a while to get up there. It's not ever really reaching 450, so that can't be right. I don't know if that's a nickel purity setting, or I'm not really sure what temperature coefficient is. All I know is that it really affects the vape if it's not set properly, so I'm going to have to look into that. Well, 80 is as high as it'll go. And it's set to hard, so 75 seemed to work better. but it's not reaching. It's not reaching that temperature. So yeah, I don't know. Let's turn the temperature up to 500. Typically that would be like, and maybe it's because the resistance, you know, I set the resistance manually, and maybe, you know, maybe this coil is not all that, you know, and I've had that issue too with inconsistent nickel coils. So just for shits and giggles, let's go ahead and let's take my, I gotta love this setup, by the way, just loving it. It's still my favorite temp control setup. Alright, let's take this Derringer, which I know is a 0.16. Let's put it on here. Actually, it's a 0.15 depending on temperature in my living room in the morning. New coil up, 0.16. Some juice in here. Cap back on. Let's see. Let's change that coefficient back to 70. It's definitely burning a little bit, but that might be the build, you know. I could be hot spotting. I think the ramp up is just, it's a little slow. It's a little slow. I don't know why that is. I'll have to do some more research on the mod before I do a review for it. Really, this was about the titanium. No issue there. It's going up a lot faster. Leads me to believe it was that coil. Yeah, I'm getting it's getting dry. You know, let's try. I also read in a forum a little while ago that somebody had theirs set to 65, and that was their sweet spot. I've heard both 65 and 70, and I'm talking about the temperature coefficient of nickel wire. Yeah. Well, I mean, it let me vape every last drop out of this before I finally protected the temperature. So let's try it with a little more juice on here and see what that gets me. This is really, I'm off the subject, folks. I'm not even talking about titanium wire. I'm messing with this thing with nickel now. Woo! That thing's cranking pretty good. That's a good setting. I like that for the nickel build that I have in here anyway. Let's put the titanium back on. I'm experimenting on this. This is a real life experiment with titanium versus nickel on this confusing ass mod, but I really like the mod. 0.35, 500 degrees, titanium. Got to change the coil mode. Titanium. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There's juice on this cotton. Seems like it ought to be... I don't know. I think my coils suck. Maybe I need to rebuild. It's okay. It's not blowing my mind. I kind of expected something a little bit more wow, you know. It's just not. Excuse me. Connections tight. Yeah, I don't know. This is like not. Yeah, that's it. There's my problem. Ladies and gentlemen, I have wicked this improperly. I'm going to re-wick it and come back. And we're back. Now I have re-wicked this. Look at these ugly ass. What is that? That's awful, right? Well, it's just, it's like wrapping, it's like using, this reminds me of using silica because of these spaced. And I don't know, you know, and I tried to get contact coils in the Zephyrus tank that I was using, and it was really tricky to get some contact coils, and I think I'd probably do a little better if I had thicker gauge wire. But then I don't want to go back to single coil, people. That's why I got titanium, because I want to use all my other RDAs that I cannot use with nickel. Let's see. That's better. But ladies and gentlemen, what do we know about temperature control and wicking? Well, what we know is if there's not enough juice, then we get the temperature limited because the coil gets too hot. So if our wicking isn't good, then guess what? Not enough juice on the coil, temperature gets limited. That's definitely better. Now, I know I could do a better job. But that's not too bad. That's 500 degrees. Let's go up to 550. Big difference there. 580. That's more like it. So, yes, the wicking does affect your temperature control device. Your build needs to be wicked properly in order to produce good vapors. There we go, folks. I'm going to rebuild this again, or some other dripper. I'm going to do more tank builds. I'm going to do single coil tank builds. I'm going to do dual coil tank builds. I'm going to do single coil dripper builds with thicker gauge titanium. I'm going to do dual coil dripper builds with slightly thicker 28 gauge titanium builds. And we're going to see all about this titanium business. I'm learning the same time you are, guys. So thanks for watching 330 Vapes here. I know this was a long video with lots of rambling and experiments. I appreciate you bearing with me, and have a good evening, YouTube.